I had a missed call from Rick Suggett on my phone down at the lodge, and it kind of went something like this, like, "Hey, this is Rick Suggett from USA Rugby. I got your number from Lori Clifford, a flag football high school teammate of yours. Yeah, if you are interested in playing rugby, just give me a call." And I was like, I thought it was my twin sister playing a prank on me. He said, you can come down in 2 weeks and give rugby a try. Like, there's no pressure. If you like it, like, we'll have a chat. If not, like, this is great. Like, at least you know. And I said, "Well, Rick, I've never touched a rugby ball before." And he said, "Oh, we have plenty here." I'm Alev Kelter, and welcome to the Rugby Hive.
Today's guest is American legend Alev Kelter. Kelter is the fourth highest point scorer in history on the HSBC World Rugby 7 series, behind Canada's Ghislaine Landry and Kiwi's Tyla, Nathan-Wong and Portia, Woodman. This past season, however, Kelter was the leading point scorer in the world. She is the most capped USA Eagle ever to play on the series, and will be heading to her second Olympic Games in Tokyo 2021. In today's episode, we reveal more about her amazing family, what her name means, her versatile background in sports, and attending the University of Wisconsin with her twin sister. We chat about her remarkable entry into rugby, from having never touched a rugby ball to representing the Eagles on the Sevens World Series. After 6 years on the series and several different USA coaches, Kelter is perfectly positioned to provide insight into the women's game. She has advice for younger players and reveals why rugby's ethos and values are unmatched in any other sport. Here is American legend Alev Kelter.
He's so dangerous, Freddy Krueger has nightmares about him!
Hello and welcome to the Rugby Hive. I'm Dallen, Stanford, and despite my South African accent, I was fortunate enough to play rugby for the United States on the Sevens World Series.
And I'm MacDowell, a former Canadian Sevens international. Back in my playing days, I went head-to-head against Dallen and the USA.
For several years, Robin has coached international sevens for various countries, including Canada and Mexico. He's massively passionate about growing the game across the Americas through his MacDowell rugby programs at all levels. I'm currently a commentator for World Rugby, most recently broadcasting the Rugby World Cup in Japan, as well as the amazing Sevens World Series.
More than a decade later, we are teaming up to bring you insights from legendary players and coaches from around the world.
All legends have a story. The Rugby Hive podcast is here to share it.
Welcome to the Hive.
Oh, he's more dangerous than climate change!
Hello and welcome to episode 15. World Rugby 7's top point scorer this past season was America's Alev Kelter, an abrasive, elusive power runner who led her country at times throughout her sparkling career with the Eagles. Such a pleasure having her on, and particularly commentating her as well. She's got magic every time she touches the ball or tackling, leading by example. She's one of the many talented crossover athletes who have played other sports to the highest level. She captained USA under-18 ice hockey, not field hockey, so ice hockey where you're from, Robin, and then played USA under-20 soccer as well before making her international debut in rugby in 2014. What a joy to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, she was originally hunted by the Canadian rugby coach, Rick Suggett. We've talked on a number of episodes, the late Rick Suggett. And, of course, Canadian hockey coach is going to recruit an American hockey player to cross over. So really exciting athlete. I like how she talks about her early days on the circuit. And then now you just see she's class and obviously top point scorer. But I first ran into Alev Kelter at the Olympic qualifiers in 2015 in Carolina, and we discussed that on the pod a bit. But our whole game plan, like our goal was with Team Mexico, was to get to the Cup final and somehow find a way to upset the hometown heroes, the USA, and their secret weapon. Like our whole game plan was Alev Kelter, because she can hang those high balls up better than anybody right down the middle of the field. And so I devised a plan with some of my old mentors, which are some of Rick's good colleagues, and I had a quick catch up with Sluggo before the Cup final, before we played each other in the Olympic qualifier, and he's like, "Yeah, Doug Tate and Rick Fairley, they filled me in on your game plan. It's not going to work." And anyway, they broke our hearts. But I've just been a fan since. She's all class.
How many tries did she score against you?
Can't count that. I can't count that high. It was a bad day for Canadian sports fans. It was one-way traffic. The ladies upset Mexico, and of course the men upset the Americans, upset the Canadians. So it was pretty cool getting to coach against Sluggo, and obviously special for our Mexican girls to play against one of the best teams in the world. So
I bet. And on a sweeter note, what's happening in the land of maple honey? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was wonderful. A bit of downtime and, a big family feast last night. So that was great. And then back on the field first thing with the men's sevens at 7 a.m. and a bit of a West Coast storm today. But we're pretty well used to it in this part of the world. How about you and V?
Yeah, all good this side, my friend. Full steam ahead with some remote rugby work. It's going on, content creation. And then Verity and myself will be heading out to Vermont later this week for a few days, which will be so great. Just got to catch the last bit of fall before we get stuck behind closed doors for winter, which we've never really had to experience after being in Cali for 15 years. But yeah, looking forward to that. And then we actually were in Salem this past weekend, which is where they had those witch trials in 1692. It's absolute mayhem, but it's a good time of year during October and Halloween to kind of check that out. Pretty scary stuff. And then rugby news, let's just head across. So the British and Irish Lions trip to South Africa, we spoke about last time. Planning is going superbly. Huge number of people that are interested in that. So we're getting them quotes, get them set up for a beautiful trip to South Africa, particularly to Cape Town, my hometown, to go visit there and other beautiful parts of the world. 3 test matches up for grabs. And of course, that is the mother city will host the Sevens World Cup in 2022 in Africa as well. So a couple of good trips there. Bledisloe Cup, I don't know if you caught the game, my friend. It was an absolute whirlwind back and forth battlefield, and really enjoyed it, especially the last 8 minutes. Australia on the verge of winning it, and then New Zealand came back, almost took it. No team wanted to kick a drop. South Africa won't be taking out Australia or New Zealand in the Rugby Championship, which, Robin, that's big news. I think there were citing some rumors that everything had happened in the world so far, COVID, lack of training, lack of practice for the South African world champion side. They're probably just going to sit home.
Yeah, just going back to that Bledisloe game, I did watch it. I got to watch the second half, and I thought a sevens game broke out. It was unbelievable. There was so much quality in the standard of the guys, like one-on-one tackling and run, catch, pass, but also there was some schoolboy errors. But I just, like you said, I liked how they backed themselves. There's no whistles, and it was exciting. It was exactly what every rugby fan in the world was praying for, with the lack of international sport happening. So and that was the first game. Like, that's the exciting part. And then I guess for me the best part was seeing the socials after, just seeing the boys having a quiet pint and catching up after smashing for 89, 90 minutes, and then giving each other, I guess socially distanced high fives after was pretty cool. And that's just the class of our sport.
It really is, and that's the ethos and the values coming through, which is so great. And as you said, then on the field, 3 more of those games to go, and it just can't wait. I just want to thank folks from this side, though. We had a brilliant response to the Nat Hirayama episode of 14, chopping the carts in Canada, and we didn't chop the carts, we topped the charts. In fact, so even better than that. That was absolutely brilliant to see. We appreciate everybody supporting us on the socials, and a lot of folks have been reaching out, a lot of brands as well. They're sending us some products, so we were absolutely loving it. There's a bunch of stuff coming our way in the next couple of weeks, which is great. A couple of shout outs here, Robin. I want to thank Wintergreen Sport for their superb gift box they sent. And the products are designed for athletes before, during, and after competition. And for me, of course, not much competition, but definitely tight hamstrings trying to catch Verity, who's funneling my beers around the house. And then a bit of spice. This is coming out of brand Marinade, also one of our partners, where rumor is that Jeremy Castro, who's a rugby legend I played with back in the day, he's got the biggest calves in North America, arguably the world. He's now partners with Marshawn Lynch. I didn't know Marshawn Lynch very well until he won the Super Bowl, only 34 years young, which begs the question, could Castro bring Lynch out and bring his talents to the rugby field? That could be very interesting. Another crossover athlete doing great things. What do you think?
Well, I think that's pretty special. I was Thanksgiving at my mom's last night, and we were watching the LA Chargers game, and of course, World 7 Series player Tavon Campbell. So I scouted Tavon Campbell when I was coaching at the University of Regina, and he was actually playing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the Canadian Professional Football League, and he had set the 40-meter combine record when he was a walk-on. Which is still the top time. I got a hold of Damien McGrath, who was in Vegas at the time, and we flew him to Vancouver Sevens to check it out. And he was on a plane 2 weeks later to Hong Kong, and he'd never touched a ball. And one of my kind of selling features to him is you can kind of get lost in the CFL a bit, and this might help raise your profile. And Tavon played a couple years on the circuit, then went back to football, and it helped he credits his time on the World Seven Series playing rugby for Canada to now getting him into the NFL. And so last night I was able to watch Tavon Campbell on TV, and he's keeping the door open for the Olympics and other opportunities with rugby. So we're going to continue to see a lot of these crossover athletes, and it's nice that they can go back and forth. You imagine being that talented.
And that's right. Getting a chance to go to the Olympic Games, that is absolutely amazing. And again, speaking of Olympic Games, that's why our guest, Alev Kelter, with the US and looking to go again in 2021. So make sure you follow us at Rugby Hive on Twitter and Facebook, at My Rugby Hive on Instagram. A special thanks to our partners, Gilbert Rugby Canada and Focus Care Products. It's time now for episode number 15. Well, what a privilege and honor to have Alev with us here. Thanks so much for taking time out of your training schedule and joining us on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Now, tell me, where are you currently isolating? And also, second follow-up to that, how strange was it celebrating your birthday in March in this crazy new world?
Oh my gosh, I'm currently in San Diego. I have a little cottage in Mount Helix area. I recently had my 4 chickens, built a beautiful coop for them. So I'm not too lonely. My twin sister's here quarantining with me. We haven't killed each other yet, which is a blessing. But it's getting close now. I'm kidding. We built another bedroom out in the shed so we can have our space. But it's been great. And we shared our birthday. My mom and my youngest brother were actually here for our birthday, and then ended up getting stuck in the quarantine for a week and a half after they were supposed to fly home. So that's kind of a blessing in disguise. But again, I only have a 1-bedroom, a little cottage. And so it was 4 of us here, and we loved it. But I'm glad everyone's safe, and my parents are back home in Alaska and with my brother, and Gary's here with me.
That's brilliant. So 4 adults, 4 chickens. It was pretty crazy there. We'll get to your family in a bit and your sister. But let's first go, because we're all about uncovering legends of the game here on the Rugby Hive, average things people don't necessarily know. So I wanted to kick things off and ask you what your actual given first name is.
My first name is Layla. My middle name is Alev, and my mom's side of the family is Turkish and German, and my dad's side's Irish and Italian. So I guess, the names mean something. So Layla is beginning of the night, and Alev means flame. And so my name actually means night flame. And then it's kind of cool because my twin sister is blonde, and I'm a redhead, so night flame kind of fits. It's pretty awesome.
Well, now that I know that, this makes commentating a lot easier, because obviously you're to use the cliche, on fire on the field all the time. So, okay, good. That makes total sense. I want to pull it out the bag next time.
That's great.
I can't wait to hear that come out in the next year. So, Alev, you have 2 brothers and a twin sister. Can you share some of their sporting backgrounds?
Yeah, absolutely. So my oldest brother, his name's Errol. He went to the Air Force Academy and played baseball and football for them. I think the military with the 2 Division I sports was pretty challenging, so he focused strictly on baseball. He was a catcher. He wrestled growing up, and also played basketball. So sports kind of kept us all out of trouble. My twin, she played ice hockey and soccer growing up, with a long list of sports that we played together, including like basketball, soccer, swimming. We played a little bit of tennis, but we actually never had like a full match because we were moving around a lot from the military. And so, some other, I think, fun backyard things that we did. But we kept busy. And then my youngest brother was a wrestler as well, and t-ball, then didn't like baseball. So he, went to something more active and stick with wrestling. And now he does a lot of like CrossFit, and just also is an avid gamer. So I feel like there's a lot of really cool things I don't know about. Nice. And what is it like to have a twin? And I guess, what is it like to be one? Being a twin is awesome. And it's like having a best friend spend the night every night. It's pretty cool. She's a hellion. I like to say, like, good twin. I am the good twin, and she is the evil twin. However, she'd probably say it vice versa. So, but because she's, outside on the phone, I can shed light on our childhood was crazy. If you can imagine a bunch of kids, run into each other's house, knocking on the door, the old school way, which I think we're kind of getting back to. It's like, don't show up in my house, stay 6 feet away, ask to play. We're getting there. No. And so that's how it was. And we would just kind of ride our bikes, skateboard. We may or may not have stolen wood from the local store to make a big tree fort in the backyard, which, if you imagine Alaska as being like the most beautiful, open space, playground, that's kind of what we grew up in. So it was rugged, it was fun, dirty all the time, and it's a blast.
Sounds a lot like growing up on Vancouver Island, just a little further south. So your family has a very strong connection to the Air Force. Can you give us some insight into that affiliation?
My mom is a civilian in the Air Force, and she's actually now a joint partner with the Alaska Medical Healthcare Center and our Air Force bases in Alaska. And then my real dad was a fighter pilot. He flew F-22s and stealth fighters. And then actually he retired the stealth fighter on Area 51, which he's not allowed to talk about, but that's kind of a cool little thing. And I'm always like, are there aliens? He's like, not allowed to speak about it, but apparently they're aliens. And so he's now retired American Airlines pilot and works for the military, still doing some drone work. And then my stepdad, the one who raised me, he was a navigator for the C-130 in the Air Force. And he is now the assistant director at the VA in Walla Walla, Washington. And so my parents are actually moving in the next couple of weeks from Alaska to Washington. So that's going to be a big step for us, but hopefully Alaska's still kind of home. So, and then my oldest brother also went to the Air Force Academy, Errol. I said that earlier, and he's a C-130 pilot, similar to my dad. So pretty cool, a lot of pilots. And my uncle also was a fighter pilot and flew F-16s and flies for Delta now. So a lot of pilots in the family, and very blessed to have that ability to move around, learn how to meet new people and see the world.
Alev, that's a fascinating background, but I need to go back to Area 51 because honestly, personally, I watch all those ancient... I know you won't reveal anything much, but I watch all those ancient alien discovery History Channel things and they're fascinated. I went to Peru, to Machu Picchu. I was like looking at the Nazca lines. Okay, we've got to do a side podcast then about Area 51. We won't publish it. It'll just stay between us three.
I told my sister I saw a UFO, and I know the date, the exact time. It was in Alaska. She didn't believe me, and now all this stuff's coming out. Of course, it's like covered up by COVID, and that's serious too. So, but we should definitely have a separate podcast on UFOs. So,
great. I can't wait. I mean, again, you're fueling so much in the commentary. I just can't wait. So I may make a couple of references to UFOs when you play next, and obviously nobody will really know what I'm talking about.
Nobody will tee you up.
We'll know. Correct. Exactly. Good. Okay, let's talk a bit about your sporting background. Your resume is longer than Pinocchio's nose. What sports did you enjoy as a child, and did you play everything and anything?
I did play everything and anything I could get our hands on. And a lot of that kind of the main focus was soccer and ice hockey growing up, but played basketball. We swam a lot. We used to live in Arkansas too before Alaska. So that's kind of where swimming was picked up, and tennis. And then we got to Alaska, everyone had, was playing ice hockey and rollerblading around. And that was something we had learned from Colorado when we were really young. So we kind of put the skates on and just gave it a whirl. There wasn't any women's teams in Alaska when there were a couple, Firebird team and another, I can't remember, but we ended up playing with boys growing up, and that was always a challenge. And so kept Twin and I just out of trouble. And I can't emphasize that enough, that it instilled like a lot of discipline and time management and really, really cool best friends that I won't ever forget.
We had Nolly Waterman, the former England international, with us and on the podcast, and she also was talking about younger, playing amongst the boys, carving them up, trying to get away from her brothers. She had to be more elusive than them to stay in the game.
100%.
Exactly. Now, quick question for you. How did you balance playing USA Under-18 ice hockey and then USA Under-20 soccer? How did you balance such competitive sports at the same time?
Yeah, it was a dream of mine to play both soccer and ice hockey Division I. So when I was looking for colleges, I was looking for programs that were going to support both of those. And that narrowed from, thousands of colleges down to a few. And I also wanted, my mom really harped that you're a student first and then an athlete. And so I wanted to also have a great education. So looking at different schools and all those things kept this dream of playing both. And that dream originated from when I was 14. I made the U.S. Youth Development Squad, which is ODP for soccer, and the Select Districts All-National Team for ice hockey. And so I was just going to continue that path as long as I could until one door closed and then hopefully opened up another. And so that's, for me, seeing that and tasting that and being in the driver's seat for like colleges to be recruited, that was just I'm so thankful for that opportunity. And so that's where that originated. And I don't know how, I guess my dad and his Excel spreadsheets and where we're supposed to be and all that stuff, like he's the one who helped with that time management part. But I'll tell you, I failed epically in college. I'm learning how to like not spread myself too thin and do too many things. So I really realized that it's academics, and then it was hockey, and then soccer, and then I had an art degree. And so between all of that, majority of my time was spent. And so, the socializing part, the partying part kind of never really came to fruition. Unfortunately, my mom's like, woo! Yeah, there was just a lot of efforts in following that dream to play those two as far as I could.
I love that you have the soccer background. I knew you were a hockey player, so I said, how does a ice hockey player crossover kick as well as you do? And you got one of the best restarts in the world, and I've actually coached against you with Mexico at an Olympic qualifier a few years ago, and Sluggo said you were going to hang him up all day, and we couldn't break that. But having that world-class soccer background has definitely helped your rugby transition. And you attended the University of Wisconsin. What did you study there? You said arts, was it?
I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in sculpture. So I found glass blowing my sophomore year and did a lot of woodworking and welding. So I knew like just working with my hands and being active was kind of something that I'd always been used to, and how could I transition that into the academic world? And that's where it left me. And I found a teacher, her name's Helen Lee, and she's a badass artist and was an educator, sculptor, and like an architect too. So got her undergrad at MIT and then did her glass blowing master's at RISD, and just came to Wisconsin and redid our glass program and inspired me just to kind of create and use that as a platform to reach many people too. So I think that eventually this will turn into like the art of rugby, because I think sport is a performance art, and that's a whole nother topic, but very passionate about the arts and creating.
You still create?
I do, yeah. I've got a little shed here next to my chickens, and it's got a full wood shop in it. That's helped me build their coop. And then I do a lot of like bookbinding. I made my twin like a little notebook for her work, and like Coptic stitch and some other stuff. So I'd say I'm not really proficient in like drawing or painting, but I love to do it, and it's more abstract. So
it's good to give your rugby brain a rest as well.
It's true.
So both you and your sister played soccer and hockey together with the Badgers. Sorry, was that an epic experience for you too?
I think that just having her alongside at college, and we're kind of this together with a superhuman. Like she's more like naturally gifted academically, and I'd say like natural like athletics kind of come for me. And so together we were like, okay, how can we team up and like do this together? And I think we both raised each other's standards because we pushed each other in those categories. And I wouldn't have finished college or even probably made both national teams without having a twin and without her pushing me mentally and physically. And so, and I'd hope she'd say the same. I think she would. And we kept each other accountable. And again, like she's my best friend, and I'm glad she's outside because she heard that. She said, "What? You never told me that." But yeah, no, she is, and so it's great. It's having her around has been so amazing.
So let's get on to your sporting journey. Then takes a 180 turn. How did you find rugby? How did you fall in love with it? Please tell us that story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to give the short version. I was kind of recently let go from the full U.S. ice hockey team. And so the U20s led to different international tournaments and camps, and they were getting ready for Sochi in 2014. And so they had picked their residency squad. And if you're not on the residency squad, then you're not going to be on the team because they're going to pick the team from that residency squad. So I was like one of the last cut from that August camp before they did their year-long series. And so I was a bit devastated and I would say like, in a haze or like depressed. And just recently finished up my last year of soccer, was figuring out like, what am I going to do? And had an opportunity. Pro soccer team league was restarting. And there was an opportunity to play pros in the US and then go abroad and play hockey. And I remember being back home snowboarding, and the story kind of goes, I had a missed call from Rick Sugget on my phone down at the lodge. And it kind of went something like this, like, "Hey, this is Rick Sugget from USA Rugby. I got your number from Lori Clifford, a flag football high school teammate of yours. Yeah, if you are interested in playing rugby, just give me a call." And I was like, I thought it was my twin sister playing a prank on me. And I said, she was just trying to make me laugh. And so, I called her. She said, "No, it's like, this is real. Like, that's not me. And I was like, oh, shoot. What now? I called my mom and I was like, hey, will you support me if I try rugby? And she's like, absolutely. Like, what's the worst they say? No. Like, take that risk. I gave Rick a call and he said, I'm a former ice hockey player and a Canadian. I said, oh, I'm sorry that you're Canadian. No. And I'm just kidding.
I said the same to Robin as well, so don't
I'm
worry.
just kidding. I love that he had played ice hockey and kind of knew that we have a little few screws that are loose. And he said, you can come down in 2 weeks and give rugby a try. Like, there's no pressure. If you like it, like, we'll have a chat. If not, like, this is great. Like, at least And I said, well, Rick, I've never touched a rugby ball before. And he's like, we have plenty here. That was his response. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I like started looking up like positions and players of my size and just trying to get the ins and outs of it and the rule, like the laws and everything. So for January of 2014 was my first introduction. I first touched a rugby ball at the Olympic Training Center. And that was the beginning.
Give us that insight, because I find that is absolutely crazy coming from a country like South Africa where, you know what I mean, like it's different there. At birth you hand a rugby ball and you're told to play and kick it around, right?
Yeah,
and
that's like soccer here.
Yeah, correct, right? So you go to this camp, you've never touched a rugby ball. How did the first few days go?
I mean, if you can imagine, like, you're about to step foot on an Olympic training center where these girls have been training and they know the game. And so for me, it was extremely intimidating. It was I was the most nervous I've ever been as an athlete because there's no foundation. Usually you have like confidence and, you go in knowing that you've prepared and all these things. And so strictly just me as like this nobody standing on foot, like looking at like, Vix Valayan, Jillian Potter, Shayna Turley, Christy Ringenberg, Kelly Griffin, all these people that I've been Googling and learning that like of their success stories and just knowing that now I'm in awe and I'm in the presence of them. And it was completely the antithesis of what I thought. Like for soccer or ice hockey, it's, and you're new, there's a lot of like, what do you know? Who are you? Like, what's it? Show us your stuff. And for this, I was welcomed with the biggest open arms you can imagine. Like, they were like, you want to play rugby? Like, let me show you. Let me help you fall in love with it. And they were like, honey, like, this is how you tackle. Like, it's cheek to cheek. I don't want you getting knocked out. Like, you're no good to me if you're knocked out. Like, and it's just simple. Like, they taught me. And, like, Rick was the coach, but, like, they were the ones who were like, this is the tackle progression. This is our structure. This is, it was very much a player-led at that time. And I just remember learning, like the positions of scrum half is where like I first learned and Hannah Lockwood and Hannah Lopez were all teaching me and Christy was, teaching me my spin pass and Shayna and Jillian were my tackle partners. And I was like, oh my gosh. And thank God, because, like the best, I think, shared their information fully knowing that, one of like, I might take their spot in a few years. And that to me was so selfless that I was like, I've never experienced that love or that unconditional respect. Just to step foot on like the first ever like time was just unbelievable. So yeah, that's why I stayed with rugby. I mean, I fell in love with the culture, the ethos of the game, and I wanted to be a part of, something bigger than myself. And rugby is the epitome of that. And it's a family, and we kind of like say that a lot and we can throw it around like jargon, but truly it is. Like, you can go anywhere in the world and stay with a rugger and then be taken care of. And I can't say that for any other sport that I've played. And truly, like, just how we, have socials after tours and get to know each other. And some of my best friends are on the other countries, and it's been a dream come true. Just that alone, like playing rugby.
Alev, I had a hockey background as well. That was my main passion in sport, growing up in Canada. So maybe share the difference of the culture from hockey. You're saying how, you walked into a national team with professionals and you were embraced, and they're almost setting you up to take their spot. Would you get that in hockey?
Probably any other sport that I played, you don't have that. It's like there was a sense of like an innocence of competition at that level, right? Like, we had just transitioned from being like, a social sport to being an Olympic sport. And I think the key to not losing that is having like, respect, integrity, all these things be in our laws, like it's part of us. I would say like, I wouldn't have gotten that in any other sport, that welcoming. It would have been maybe show me what you're capable of. Who are you? Like, these questions of like, maybe not even been talked to at the beginning. And so for me to have that like welcoming feeling was unbelievable. I also believe that the sense of my knowledge to you is a gift, and it's not something that I have to do, but I'm willing to do, was something that I also noticed. And like part of Rick's culture and was just like growing not only us as rugby players, but as people. And you could totally see that like all these girls had other professions that they stopped and came from, like badass professions. Like Shani is like a helicopter pilot. We had like lawyers and professors, and these women were legit badass women. And then they like decided to like pause their life to play this sport that they loved, and to not only play it, but to give and share it. It was just something that was, unbelievable.
And Alev, I have a follow-up question to you there. What was it like for the first time in a long time playing without your twin sister? And what did she want to try rugby?
Yeah, no. So it was, she would be an amazing rugby player, but she had a traumatic brain injury, too many concussions. And so she couldn't play contact sports anymore her last year of college. And it's called like a medical red shirt. And so she was able to finish college, and she was, thank God she was healthy again, but she didn't lose a single brain cell. She's still hell of smarter than me. I love it. So then we just championed each other in that. So she went off to medical sales and is working for Baxter now, worked for Stryker previously, and now actually Medtronics. She got a new job with them. So she's crushing the real world in medical sales, and she's like my biggest cheerleader here for rugby. But I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it did. It absolutely did. And I know people were probably thinking, jeepers, imagine we had two Kelters on the field, how dangerous that would be,
Oh yeah, I'm teaching her how to pass right now. I'm like, I need someone that we can do this together. Yes. And she's learning, and it's exciting again. It's like, I feel like I'm also giving her that love and passion too. So.
Exactly. Let's go to 2014. You make your debut on the HSBC Sevens World Series. Give us your insight into that first time you stepped on the field and played your first international game.
I think I was in Guangzhou, China. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but we're, sorry. Can you hear me?
We got you there. The ding was, I think, because you said it correctly.
And I remember we played either New Zealand or Australia in the first game. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, like I don't even really know the laws. It was crazy. And then Rick was just like, going, like, it's it. Like you confident in learning how to tackle, confident in learning how to pass, like just go try it out. And I remember it being just a whirlwind. Like I was in a big tornado, just getting spun around and like, what's the next thing? Who am I? Like, I think I tackled the girl high, and then I didn't realize that there was like, you had to get back 10. And then I think I hit her again, and I ended up getting a yellow card because they were like, Kelter, you don't know the rules. Like, get off, like get off. And my Rick like patted me on the side. He's like, you'll learn. And I think two of the girls on my team were like, oh my gosh, like we make sure we like help her with that. But I also needed to like take it upon myself to learn. And so that was kind of like, one of those like moments of like, all right, that's pretty embarrassing, but here we are, and like, let's keep going. That was my first tournament, and then it's been amazing since. So.
I don't think you can properly prepare yourself as a player for the level of pace and the madness on the World Series stage, or even as the games go on to this day, you can't properly, like now in my space as a coach, you try and prepare people for that level, and you still can't. And even the top teams in the world, I remember, playing Fiji day one. Well, you could almost beat them day one, because even they're adjusting. So I don't think anybody has a great first game of a competition, even week two. But that's why we live for it, because it's a new challenge. So take us back a couple years after your sevens debut. You made a debut with the 15s. What was it like sliding into that format?
Yeah, I love 15s. I mean, they're two very different games. It's like chess and checkers, and there's a lot of strategy to both. But one is more like you're playing, like 15s was just like so many steps ahead. You had to be this visionary where you see like different things and you're moving it at like a slower pace, but it's not slow to play. It's like so much fun to be consumed in that much action with that many people. It's a ton of less space. So I love both of them. They're extremely different from each other, and you need a lot of the same like skill base for 15s. And so for me, it was also that feeling of like being completely thrown into that like tornado again, but having some sense of skill based. I knew how to tackle by that. I knew how to pass by that. I knew the structure, and so it was like, okay, this is a little bit better. But inside of me, like the nervousness and the anxiety of like, oh my gosh, like there's so many people out there, and just wanting to like perform and stay focused for that long was something that like I found a challenge.
How has the women's sevens game changed, in your opinion, over the past 6 years since you debuted?
I think it's gotten a lot faster. And if you can imagine, just with, the more publicity we have and, getting more like people watching, you have a lot more people trying it. And also too, like, as the game grows, you're getting more creative and learning more things. And we're always asked to like, okay, what's the new perspective? How can we bring, our skills to the surface at like the highest level? And so everyone's kind of, each tournament you're getting better and you're getting stronger and you're meshing with each other. And so the game from here, from like when I first entered in 2014 to now, is like, it's so fast. And there's so many amazing athletes, and that's only going to get better as people, especially Americans, start picking up the sport at a younger age. We have the likes of Etty and Emily Henricks and Lily Durbin and all these girls that, and Kayla Kinnett, that have come from high school rugby and college rugby and are playing, and they just see the game so differently. I wish I had found rugby younger, but this is where we're at, and you can't even imagine what it's going to be in the next 10 years. It's exciting, and hopefully, we'll have a lot of people watching TVs in America to broadcast, and that would be pretty sweet.
It will be. And then if they need commentators, we know a few people.
For sure.
Let's talk series form, right? The USA Eagles, when you started back in 2014, placed 7th. Then they went 5th, 6th twice, 5th again. And then last season, a remarkable 2nd place finish behind New Zealand. So what would you attribute the success and consistency of that 29 season where you were on the podium 5 out of 6 tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, one, it was an amazing year for us. And two, I attribute it to, just the hard work that the girls and the staff put in. We made an effort to, one, have a consistent staff. We've had a lot of turnover in the past. And so for us to have Chris Brown, Emily, Matt Long, Nicole Titmus, and Liz, and a few others to be consistently working together, gave us encouragement to create a culture. What is it? What do you guys want to be defined by? What's your legacy? Like, asking us these questions, having meetings every Wednesday about like our culture and what are we going to do? How are we going to like take responsibility for it? And so that was just the tip. Like, that was just like the beginning, like getting our feet wet. And then we're starting to see, a little bit of performance here with that. And so then it's like another fire that's lit. That's like, yeah, this is working. We can do this. And so, by the end of it, I think we just really gained confidence in ourselves, worked together, and built a culture that we're proud of. And, you're always going to have ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys. And to know that we can win a series, we can not only win a series stop, but we can do it back to back and on our home soil. Like, talk about getting confidence and getting pumped, like just now thinking about it. And so carrying that momentum through and just having the consistency, just like we built the consistency of our culture and structure, and we're still building. I think that's going to show as that gets, solidified. You're going to see it come more to the playing field. And there's a lot of traditions in other countries, and in America, it's, we're a mix. And so all walks of life, and same with other countries, but it's so apparent to be unique and different in America and also play together. And you don't want to ever like lose your individuality or your autonomy. And so when you bring someone very amazing, like athletes, like strong females together and put them on a team, and you tell them to work together, like you're only going to see success when that starts to mesh. So.
Yeah, it was a stunning season for both your program and the men's program, both finishing second, highest ever achievement, which is brilliant to see. Now, a quick comment on this hot topic. So this season, we've seen combined tournaments in Dubai and Cape Town. What was that experience like for you? And would you like to see more combined tournaments, or would you like to keep them separated?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that our game provides an amazing, and something that was attractive to me from the beginning was that it was equal. It's the same size ball, the same size pitch, and it's the same amount of people on the field. And, you're going to see just as much action. And I think as more people see us play, they have this, preconceived stereotype or notion of like, it's not exciting or whatever, but then you see, Elliot Green lighting people up, or Portia Woodman coming through people, and Landry kicking cross kicks. It's like, you're going to see it all as well. And the more that we're asked, like that glass ceiling is broken and we're paired with the men, you're going to see us rise to that standard and that professionalism, because before that it's been capped. And I think that having that, be the same and be equal is extremely important. I think both player welfare for the men and the women need to be held into consideration. And that's like World Rugby's job and, our job to make sure that we're still like with the two tournaments together, that our player welfare is not being left behind. However, if it's possible and doable, which is what we showed, we should continue to do it.
That's fantastic to hear. Let's switch gears a bit. You're one of the stars on the series, countless Dream Team awards amongst brilliant other achievements. But let's talk about the opposition players that you go up against. Name us a few that you rank as the most difficult you've faced.
Yeah, I'd say Woodman, Portia she's amazing. Just an overall, the caliber of her power and decision-making and out in the wing is just a threat to anyone. You have Niall Williams, who, is one of my great friends, and Brazier. I could say anyone on the New Zealand team is just class. And, Giz Landry from Canada and her decision-making, and Elia, and I'm trying to think of Emily Cherry, Kaslik. You're going to see it on every team, but, Patricia Garcia, just her footwork and how she plays around the ruck, it's class. So, yeah, there's amazing players out there that I think as we scout each team, I'm like, all right, these are the girls, these are the people that I need to make sure, don't get past.
So we had Tiana Penatani from Australia on the Rugby Hive podcast, and she singled you out as one of her most difficult opponents to try, mark, and stop. So
she's awesome too.
She's great, right? And she says she loves commentating when you play as well. So there's a little extra credit for you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you.
We're going to shift gears here. Let's talk coaches. Can you give us some insight into the USA Rugby coaches you've played under and the qualities that you admired in each and every one of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it started with Rick Sugget, and a big shout out to Laurie Clifford, who gave him my number. And Rick's had this magnanimous heart, and we joke about it growing sizes each day. And he would come out with his camera and shoot us, playing and keeping it fun. And it was all about the fundamentals, keeping fun and fundamentals. And there was all these taglines, and just him as a person was just magnificent to be around. And then what he left and his legacy has been tremendous, not only in rugby, but across all the sports that he was in. And started off with a tremendous coach, and it's only going to go up from there. So, and then from there, it went from Jules McCoy, and Jules was a visionary. She also, had a similar thoughts of she coached men's rugby, was just, was just an all around badass, strong woman. And for her to come in and figure out what this team needed prior to the Olympics. And, there was a lot of controversy about her and her positions. She is not just a mouthpiece. And I think that there was a lot of discrepancy there with her and her position. And so it was a little unfair just how things went down. A few months later, Richie Walker jumped in and ended up being our Olympic head coach. And Rick and Richie worked together. And so Richie was his assistant. And so he had been around the team, known the girls, and has been the basis of our skill work. And so his determination to just bring us together after a few months of just really hard stuff within, USA Rugby and within just opinions everywhere. Right before the Olympics, it was 2 months or something before he jumped in and kind of just corralled all of us. And his ability to bring our skill up. So it wasn't just a few people were being left behind. It was we're all going to move forward together and also create a sense of belief that we can do this, that we are maybe not recognized on the world stage, but that we have athletes and we have the ability to do that. And we show it every day. So that went from Richie, it went to Chris Brown. And that's kind of, where we're at now is we're creating a culture, and the culture that we're proud of, and we're buying into systems and we're buying into structure, and Chris has been the forefront of that. And and Emily Bidewell too has been, our HB director, has been amazing in helping facilitate a lot of these conversations and asking the hard questions. But Brownie, he brings a sense of individual perfectionism that's apparent through our individual player development plans that he talks with us weekly. Also asking us as players to go and look at film and to be students of the game and to really learn what can we do that no one else is doing. And we have the best athletes. We feel we have the best athletes in the world. So let's teach them rugby and really gain this sense of we can do this, this camaraderie that not only are we just good athletes, but that we're actually rugby players, and that we want to expand our knowledge not only on the pitch but off the pitch too, and as well as being better humans too. So it's a combination of everything, I think. And you're seeing is like he won Coach of the Year last year behind our second place finish, and that was just something that he was actually the only US recognized in the end of the tournament, which was like, what is going on? However, but we were so proud of him, and we know that he has changed this program, and same with Emily, like for the better, and we're excited to have him on board.
Yeah, you've had a pretty good lineup of coaches just right out of the gates, and that's the perks to starting right at the top. So that's amazing. Let's talk about tour fun. Have you pranked any of your teammates over the years, or do you have any other good tour stories you can share with us?
Yeah, I'm like thinking of the tour stories, and some of them are not like acceptable to share, but I'm just kidding. No, so I think for me, like the best part of tour is just getting to see other athletes around the world and to see them consistently. So it's like every other month we get to hang out with different cultures and different people, and then you share. I think we're sharing coffee with the Brazilians, and we'll bring some of the girls in the New Zealand team, different basketball jerseys, from the Lakers or wherever, and trade them, and then different candies from around the world. So it's been awesome to see that interaction amongst, no surprise in the rugby world, but for someone who doesn't know rugby, it's so awesome to hear those stories. Like Fijians will be singing with their, guitars after tours, and everyone's participating and getting to know each other. So for me, it's those memories that are created with everyone else. And then on tour, I think, you just create mantras, and you create the memories with the girls on your team, and how, better that chemistry and have that correlate to the pitch. So
I remember I saw you in Dubai, and you mentioned to me then, because I asked you ahead of the commentating, what are you guys up to? And you're like, we're caroling every night.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you reminded me, because that's like one of my favorite memories. But it was we decided to sing a Christmas song every day and every night, and then we would pass it on to some of the other girls on the other teams. And so at one point there's like 6 different songs being at night over dinner, because we had different rooms. Jordan Gray on our team is a phenomenal singer, and I think she should try out for The Voice. But yeah, so she would help lead, and then Casey too McGravy would help lead and pick kind of the songs that we were going to sing, and then we'd all pull up the songs and we would just belt it. No shame, but like we had the enthusiasm.
I love that. That's absolute classic. All right, now you got to give us names. You got to give us your best roommate on tour and your worst roommate on tour, and a little reason to go with it. Yeah.
Okay. So this is hard. I mean, for me, I'm like thinking of all my roommates, but my favorite roommate has been Ryan Carlisle, and I'm just going to go a little throwback, but she was an amazing integral part of our team in the Rio Olympics, and also just helping me grow the game and be a better human and a stronger athlete. And then like currently, I think Chetta has been an amazing roommate. We used to listen to different professors speak and write down notes and just share stories about poetry, or like I think there was a series on Harvard professors. So she's been someone that's challenged me also intellectually on tour. And then I don't think I have a worst roommate, but I'd say like the person that could probably handle this is Naya Tapper, and she's hilarious to be on tour with. And I think one time in Dubai, we maybe like before we played, we ordered like chicken wings, and we're just, she's smacking on her sunflower seeds really loud, and she claims to do it super fast, but puts everyone with her hand in her mouth. And so it's hilarious. And she just was a hoot to be with. But yeah, no, so she's also that memory is like one of the best. So for me, it's like there's not one person that I can think of like I wouldn't want to be on tour with. And yeah, we tend to mix it up a lot, so it's been fun.
Well, there'll be nobody smashing sunflower seeds with their masks on right now, so you're safe. But maybe if she does, you'll have to pull one out. How's your current squad adapting to the current state of the world, and what's kind of the outlook with another year to prepare?
I think at the beginning we were in shock and just kind of like, oh, like what? Like just devastated, right? You work a culmination of years and months to play the biggest days of your life on the biggest stage, and then have that go away within days is devastating. And then also you have, people who are planning to go to med school or planning to go to college or finishing up school or, getting married, or life's on hold, right? And so the next year, and so all that's kind of in like reset and refocus. And I can't even emphasize, like we have this like theme, it's called BRAVE, being brave. And it's an acronym, and it helps us like go back to our core values of the team. And so I can only say like through this thing, like we've been living out those values of brave, and like being a good person and respecting and, being authentic and vulnerable and enjoying the process, right? Like all of that is shown by our team throughout this pandemic. And how can we like so once it was like, let's acknowledge that this sucks. Like, let's acknowledge together. And then let's figure out how we can take this and our platform and transition to helping people. And, what we're writing letters to nurses, and, we're doing webinars and series talks and home workouts, and trying to just engage, the community and say like, we're with you. And that's like what rugby is, right? Like anywhere in the world, like we're with you. It could be anything. Like we're sharing, people's success stories, or we're sharing like heartbreaking stories, and we're like crying with you. We're going to be, cheering you on. Like it's exciting to see the possibility of connecting in this time. And that's like what we're trying to focus on. And yeah, come out of this, like leave the shed a better place when you first found it. Right. So we're just trying to stick to those core values and chug along. It's been extremely hard with training. Getting kicked off of every like patch of grass in San Diego has been like a little deflating, but I know the girls, like our staff dropped off basically everything and divvied up everything from our strength and conditioning room to all the houses that we were living in. So everyone has like a way to do off-feet conditioning, some rugby balls, and just, really working on like keeping each other accountable every day for skills. And our weekly meetings have been like the best to see everyone's faces and like everyone's still doing well and connecting. So
how epic is it going to be when you get back on the field together for the first practice?
Oh my God, I think it's just going to be a big ass hug. No, it'll be great. There's some girls that don't like the hug on the team. I'll say like Lauren Doyle will be like, oh my gosh, I loved my, my alone time. But no, it's great. It'll be great. I think right now we're not letting it use it as a setback, but just say, let's use it to accelerate us forward. And how can we transition our mindset to, we do like this year is a blessing, and how are we going to like uncover every rock that we might not have been able to turn over in this last couple months before the Olympics. So, and yeah, there's thought of like, it's a long haul ahead, but I think you have to acknowledge those and continue to push forward.
And looking forward, I've had an opportunity to coach in a number of camps across the U.S. in the last few years, as well as I've just been to other competitions, and the amount of young women that are coming up across the U.S. What would you like to see in America to further promote the sport, and especially the young girls and female athletes?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it kind of touched upon it. Like, I would love to see like Americans get behind like their national teams. And when the Olympics come around, like we're all united, like the whole world is united. But like, that's a time where like proud to be an American, to see like gold medals on those stands. And so for us, like, I would love to see like just people trying rugby, getting out and supporting it and watching it. And you will never like, you will never know if you truly love it if you don't try it, And I think for me, like that was the best gift that, Rick could have given me, is that just come out and try it. Like no pressure, nothing. Like it's amazing. And like just the amount of like, things that I've learned from that first moment to now is just like, it's tremendous. So just, you never know where life's going to lead you. Like take that risk. And so for Americans, get behind your national teams, like go out and also like try the sport. And for young girls and even young boys, like watch it, play it, and see if it's for you. And I think that like for parents to like understand that rugby's safe and that it's accessible in the US and that it's growing rapidly is something that I would like love them to be open-minded about.
Well, I'll say you've even answered the last question, advice to young players, and that's so impressive. And all I'm going to say to them is we'll post your highlights, put up your team's performances, your highlights, and it'll help everybody fall in love. Alev, I just want to say an absolute honor to have you on here, one of the best steppers, the hottest hitters, and a flying UFO on the field. Thanks for joining the Rugby Hive.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have fun.
Beautiful ball over the top. Yes, Seppo!
Thank you for listening, you sleek sensations.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to Rugby Hive Podcast and catch us on all the socials at Rugby Hive.
We appreciate your support. Be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.
They've taken a lunch money from South Africa and are up by 17.